Also new for us here at 4, nearly 1,500 teachers out at Chicago Public Schools. The layoffs come on the heels of a doomsday budget with a $700 million gap to be filled. But CPS says today's cuts are not related to this year's deficit. CBS News Chicago investigator Dorothy Tucker here now taking a close look at these cuts. Dorothy.
Well, Joe, as you said, hundreds of teachers, special education assistants, and even parents who help out in the classroom are impacted by these latest cuts. Let me break it down. The layoffs include 432 teachers, members of the Chicago Teachers Union. 123 of them teach special education students. CPS said the number of teachers cut this year is about 50 less than last year. But special education classroom assistants appear to be impacted more this year. In that job position, there were 677 layoffs announced today. They are represented by SEIU Local 73. That union saw only 404 cuts last year. In an interview yesterday, the interim CEO for the Board of Education did indicate the cuts were coming.
We have everything on the table, and what's driving the decision that we will ultimately come to: students first.
CPS insists the cuts are not connected to the deficit. School leaders say it's all part of the annual budget that shifts staff according to school needs.
Still, it's a big number.
It is indeed.
And they still have the work of the budget to do as well, right?
They got a lot of work to do, and as always, parents are concerned as well. They should be.
Yeah.
Mayor Johnson is doubling down on calls for the state of Illinois to fund Chicago public schools. The teachers union says it wants Governor Pritzker to allocate more than $1 billion to CPS. And today, the mayor supporting that move.
The city of Chicago and districts across the state are not fully funded by the state of Illinois. Again, it's one of those areas where I'm going to need more people to get active, to challenge not just city government, but the state government as well, to fully fund our schools, because the crisis that we are experiencing is a crisis of the result of failures of the past.
CPS is facing a budget deficit of more than $730 million. Pritzker has previously said there are no plans to boost funding for CPS.
Wait, what? 1,400 school workers laid off in Chicago, and $734 million is missing on top of $1 billion city deficit? This is insane. We are talking about teachers, special ed staff, people who work with our kids are gone. What's really going on in Chicago right now? Let's talk about it. Let's kindly watch these clips. All credits to the owners. We come back with more commentary.
The education system in Chicago is going bankrupt, with them almost laying off 1,500 educational staff members. Now, currently, they are in a deficit of $734 million, and that's just within the education system itself. The state is $1.2 billion in debt. Now, one of the interesting things is the Chicago education system overall is ranked number 34 in the United States. So education is not that great. You're laying off teachers and people that work at the schools, and somehow you expect your state to get better. You expect to say that you actually care about your constituents. Now, 29% of the individuals that live in Chicago are Black, and there's another 29% of the individuals that live in Chicago are Latino. And I know that when Mayor Brandon Johnson stepped into office, he basically said he was going to take care of all the minorities and cater to them, and he wanted to make, their state a better state for them. But if you look at the evidence, he's basically destroying his state, because now they're bankrupt and you can't educate the children and the high schoolers and all that stuff. You can't give them the best. But let me tell you who is thriving in Chicago. Okay, so you have $734 million deficit in the educational system, but yet you gave over $321 million to illegal immigrants. And I don't think that's an accurate number, because there's housing, there's, the extra money you were giving them a month, and they say that some of that money went to kitchens, some of it went to social services, and some of it went to healthcare solutions. Bottom line is, is that Mayor Brandon Johnson doesn't care about his constituents. He doesn't care about his minorities. He doesn't care about his people. He cares about illegal immigrants because he knows that as long as he continues to put those people first, hopefully he'll be able to stay in office. I think that's garbage. I think it's atrocious. And I think it's sad that you're going to sit there and say that you're going to take care of minorities when clearly you do not care.
So here is what just happened. Chicago Public Schools laid off more than 1,400 workers. That includes over 400 teachers, hundreds of special education assistants, and other school staff. Imagine going to school and your teacher or assistant is suddenly gone. No warning, just gone. Imagine that. This is unbelievable. And what is worse is a lot of these people work with students who need extra help, kids with disabilities, kids who don't speak English as their first language. Those kids are going to be hit the hardest, I'm telling you. They are going to be hit the hardest. This is not just some small budget cut. This is huge and it affects real people.
So Stephen Miller is urging red states to build an alligator Alcatraz in all red states. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court just cleared the Trump administration to dismantle the Department of Education. So they're firing 1,400 employees from the Department of Education. And they already have cuts. The cuts are going to be affecting after school program, summer programs, adult education, and this is mostly going to be hitting low income education. But then you want to have these red states build alligator Alcatraz. Like, y'all priorities are so fucked up. Alligator Alcatraz, $450 million annually. I don't know how much it costs to build it, but they built it quickly. But you're telling me you're focusing more on immigrants and you're talking about their criminals, but the people that are in alligator Alcatraz are in there for minor traffic citations, suspended license. Like, what the fuck? Make it make fucking sense. What the fuck is this? And the Supreme Court, fuck you too, because what the fuck are y'all passing? What the fuck are y'all allowing? This is crazy.
Have y'all seen how the Democrats have destroyed Chicago? Almost 1,500 staff members are being laid off. Over 400 teachers, over 600 special ed classrooms, and over 300 paraprofessionals. 734 million budget deficit. But did you see how they were routing and providing all these services to illegal immigrants? You put your people on the front line to suffer while people that aren't from here are living like kings and queens. What about the Epstein files? What about Chicago? This is why I am trying to wake people up. The Democrats do not care about you. I'm calling politics as usual out. All you do is ramble and I ain't heard you say nothing about this. Fraud.
Now you might be asking, why are they doing this? Why? Well, Chicago Public Schools is facing a $734 million budget gap. That's almost $750 million. Where did that money go? No one really knows. It just disappeared. Oh my God, this is crazy. And that's not even the whole problem. The entire city of Chicago is already facing a $1 billion deficit. So now CPS has to pay for stuff the city used to cover, like pensions. That's why they are cutting people. But my question is, why do students and teachers always have to pay the price? Why are we laying off people who work directly with children instead of cutting from the top? Why? I don't understand this. For sure, I don't understand this.
Chicago is laying off over 1,400 public school employees, including 432 teachers, and now the city is facing a $734 million deficit. But here's what nobody in the media wants to say out loud. Spending on newly arrived migrants are draining the city's resources. Over the last 2 years, Chicago has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on housing, feeding, and transporting them. That includes hotels, meals, healthcare, and more, all while the city's own schools are falling apart. Now, to be very clear, the school district has its own budget, mostly from property taxes and state funds. But when the city is spending heavily to support non-citizens, that absolutely affects the city's ability to help schools, social services, and working families. Mayor Brandon Johnson has made sanctuary city policies a top priority, and the results are plain to see. Kids and teachers are getting left behind. People can debate the policies all they want, but the math isn't mathing. If Chicago is spending over $300 million on supporting migrants while laying off teachers, assistants, and special ed staff, then yes, those policies are a part of the problem. That's a factor we can't ignore. The city has made its priorities clear, and it's not students. This isn't about hate, it's about common sense. If you can't take care of your own citizens first, you're not leading, you're just spending.
Let's be real, this is going to hurt kids, especially kids in poor communities. When you cut special ed assistants, who is going to help those kids in class? When you cut bilingual teachers, how do immigrant children learn? How? This is not just a money problem, it's a people problem. These layoffs aren't just numbers. These are jobs, these are relationships between teachers and students. You can't replace that with a computer. And even though CPS says most of the laid off staff will be moved to other jobs, we all know that doesn't always happen. Some of these people will be out of work for months, maybe longer. Trust me, this will happen. Right now, a lot of parents and community members are angry, and they should be. People are asking, where is the mayor? Where is the mayor? Where is the state money? Why is public education always the first thing to be cut? Why? So there are public meetings happening across Chicago so people can speak up. But let's be honest, it feels like the decisions are already made. The city says school closures are off the table until 2027. But with these budget problems, how long until that changes? It's sad because this shows us where the priorities are. When money gets tight, the first thing they cut is education. Not sport arenas, not police budgets, not corporate deals, just schools. This is so sad. So here is what I think. This is not just a Chicago problem, this is a warning sign. If a big city like Chicago can't afford teachers and classroom aides, what happens in smaller cities? This is the problem. We need to pay attention. We need to ask where the money is going, and we need to support teachers, staff, and students. Yeah, we have to do this, because at the end of the day, it's the kids who suffer when adults mismanage money. Yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments. Should school staff be the ones getting laid off first? Do you think more cities are going to go through this too? Let's talk about this. And hey, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video if you care about public education. And subscribe for more reactions like this. I'll keep it real and simple. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.